Mm-hmm.
And how Ammon, he still bowed before the king.
Yeah, so he's still showing respect, right? Even though he's a prisoner. And then it's interesting because he says, who's he grateful for? In the midst of this, right? Now this is a person that just came out of prison for 2 days.
God.
Yeah, he's still grateful for God. So even when we find ourselves in shackles, in handcuffs, isolated, he can still be grateful, right? And then what does he tell him in verse 13? Who is he? We're doing that. Mosiah chapter 7 and 8.
Descendant of Ammon.
All right, so.
Descendant of Ammon.
Yes, so in other words, he's saying, you know what, we're related. Because, and he says, and I have come out of the land of Zarahemla to inquire concerning our brethren, whom Zenith brought up out of the land. And what did he just say? How is he related to Zenith? Limhi. Verse 9.
He's the grandson.
He's the son. The grandson. Son of Noah, who is the son of Zenith. So he is the grandson. So in other words, guess what, buddy? I came here looking for you, and we found you out here in the land of Lehi Nephi. So remember, this is crazy. This is a huge North, Central, South America. This is a huge plot of land to cover, and they found him, and then they were exceedingly glad, and then he took him out of bondage, and then they in verse 16, they shall go to the hill which was north of Shilom, and bring their brethren into the city, and that thereby they might eat, drink, and rest themselves from the labors of the journey. They had suffered many things. They had suffered hunger, thirst, and fatigue. So this expedition of 40 days out there wandering in the wilderness didn't sound like it went that well for Ammon and his 16 men. Okay? And then King Limhi sends a proclamation to all the people, and he's going to speak to them. So in verse 18, he says, he starts by speaking, O ye my people. You want to read starting right there in verse 18 and to verse 19.
O my people, lift up your heads and be comforted. For behold, the time is at hand, for it is not far distant, when we shall no longer be in the subjection to our enemies, notwithstanding our own many struggles, which have been in vain, yet I trust there remaineth an effectual struggle to be made. Therefore lift up your heads and rejoice, and put your trust in God, and that God who is the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, and also that God who brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, and caused that they should walk through the Red Sea on dry ground, and feed them with manna, that they might not perish in the wilderness, and many more things did he do for them.
So what does Ammon, as he's listening to King Limhi speak there, what does he realize about King Limhi?
He's a believer.
He's a believer, right? So here he is, the grandson of Zenith, out here in the land of Lehi Nephi. And so one of the scripture pieces in the verse 18 that I underlined, there's a quote, I trust there remaineth an effectual struggle to be made. Sometimes I think that applies to us in our lives, in our struggles, in our tribulations, in our trials, that there still remaineth an effectual struggle. So in the heat of difficulty, sometimes there's still a little bit more to go, a little bit more to endure. And so even though we find ourselves hoping and believing and moving forward in action, sometimes there's an effectual struggle to still be made. And there's a need to still have hope and faith that God will deliver us. And then what he goes on to tell, and it's probably for the benefit of Ammon, is he tells how they've been subjected to the Lamanites. So talks about Zenith, who was made king over this people, he being overzealous to inherit the land of his fathers. Therefore is verse 21. Therefore, being deceived by the cunning and craftiness of King Laman, who had entered into a treaty with King Zenith, and having yielded up into his hands and possessions of a part of the land, or even the city of Lehi Nephi, the city of Shiloh, and the land round about. Okay, and so he just kind of recounts to them what's happened, and then let's go right to verse 27.
And because he said unto them that Christ was the God, the Father of all things, and he said that he should take upon them the image of man, and it should be the image after which man was created in the beginning. Or in other words, he had that man was created after the image of God, and that God should come down among the children of men, take upon him flesh and blood, and go forth upon the face of the earth.
So unfortunately, in verse 28, and now because he had said this, they put him to death. And many more things they did, which brought down the wrath of God before them. Therefore who wondereth they were in bondage, that they were smitten with sore afflictions? Question. And then verse 33 is a really good testimony again of some different things we can do to be delivered. So you want to read verse 33?
If you'll turn to the Lord with full purpose and heart, and put with him in your trust in him, and serve him with all diligence of mind, if ye do this, he will, according to his own will and pleasure, deliver you out of bondage.
Okay, so I have here marked number 1, if you turn to the Lord with full purpose of heart. Number 2, put your trust in him. And number 3, serve him with all your diligence in mind. You will, according to his will and pleasure, deliver you out of bondage. Okay? So there's no talk there of rely on your strength. It's about turning ourselves, aiming where we want to go. Our feet, the direction in which our feet are, will often determine which way we're going to go. And then when we trust, like we have faith that God will deliver us, and then we serve him. So how can we serve God?
By serving others?
Yes, exactly. Remember, if we go back to Mosiah chapter 2, verse 17. It's verse 17. Powerful scripture. And behold, I will tell you these things that you may learn wisdom. So read that part.
You learn wisdom, that ye may learn that when you are in the service of your fellow beings, you are only in the service of your God.
Okay. And again, more said beautifully by the Lord in Matthew. I'll read it. Matthew chapter 25. Oops. So too far. For I was a hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee hungered, or and fed thee, or thirsty, and gave thee drink? When saw thee a stranger, and took thee in, or naked, and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick, or in prison, and came unto thee? So thee is you, right? It's a formal version of you. Mm-hmm. So in other words, righteous people will say to Christ, we never saw you in prison, or sick, or afflicted. And then the king shall answer and say unto them, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Okay, that's how the Lord described it. versus what King Benjamin said there in verse 12, chapter 2, verse 17. So now we're gonna move forward here into chapter 8, and you can just read the highlight there of Ammon teaches the people, just the italics part. So now what are we gonna read about?
Seership?
Oh no. Well, so besides seership, who's going to now address the
Ammon.
Ammon? Okay. And what does he decide to quote unto them in verse 3?
Which King Benjamin had taught them.
So he is one of the people that were there when King Benjamin addressed the people, even though he's and now remember King Mosiah the son is now the king. And Ammon, let's see there. And then in verse 4, King Limhi dismisses the people. They can return to their own house. And then he caused that the plates which contained the record of his people from the time that they left the land of Zarahemla should be brought before Ammon that he might read them. So he brings forth these records. And he asked if he could interpret, and Ammon told him that he could not, because they're not in the language that he could understand. But what they are in verse 9, what are they?
24 plates which are filled with engravings, then they're of pure gold.
Okay. And behold, also in verse 10, they have brought breastplates, which are large, and they are of brass and copper and are perfectly sound. So it's really nice metal work, right? What does that sound like to you? They have these golden plates.
Like the Book of Mormon?
Yeah, it sounds like they who learned how to work with metal was Nephi, right? It kind of sounds like maybe there's some kind of relation there. And again, they have brought swords and hilts thereof. And again, they brought swords, and the hilts thereof have perished, and the blades were cankered with rust. And there was no one in the land that was able to interpret the language or engravings that are on the plates. Therefore I said unto them, canst thou translate? So, in other words, they have these really nice swords, but what's wrong with the swords?
They're broke or they're rusted.
Yeah, so they haven't kept up with these things. They're not trying to fight the Lamanites. Do you see? You know what I mean? If you have a sword, you would take care of it. You would polish it and sharpen it, and you'd be ready to fight with it. But these people are not. They're not ready to fight. That's why they're in bondage. And then let's read about. So Ammon then tells the king that he can't translate, and we learn a little bit about what a seer is. And this is important because in coming general conference this Saturday and Sunday, we're going to be asked to sustain the prophet Russell M. Nelson as our prophet,
Seer and Revelator.
So, and that he is the mouthpiece for Christ to us. He's the mouthpiece. But we also raise our hands and we sustain that the first presidency and the quorum of the 12 are also
Seers and
prophets, seers, and revelators. But only one person is asked by the Lord to be his spokesman at a time for the general direction of the kingdom of God. Or in this case, we call the kingdom the church. In the middle of verse 13, right? And the things are called interpreters, and no man can look on them except he be commanded. So the interpreters sound like the Urim and Thummim, okay, that Joseph Smith was given by the angel Moroni. Lest he should look, and they ought not, and he should perish. And whoso is commanded to look in them, the same is called seer. So Ammon knows he's not a seer. Ammon knows that he doesn't have the ability, nor does he have the commandment to interpret languages, to translate. But in 15, why don't you read verse 15?
And the king said that a seer is greater than a prophet.
and 16.
Ammon said that the seer is a revelator and a prophet also. The gift which is greater can no man have, except he should possess the power of God, which no man can, which no man can. Yet a man may have great power given him from God.
But a seer can now know of things which are past, and also things which are to come. And by them shall all things be revealed, or rather, shall secret things be made manifest, and hidden things shall come to light. And things which are not known shall be made known by them. And also things shall be made known by them which otherwise could not be known. So what can a seer, what can they reveal?
Everything.
So they can reveal things that occurred in the past. So you might be able to give more clarity on maybe what happened to the Tower of Babel, to Noah and the Ark, or to Christ when he was living. Another one is they can predict what?
Things to come.
Yeah. Not necessarily predicting the future. What this reminds me of is they shifted, and now this took a lot of years, right? But what kind of, first off, church went from, how did it shift? Our Sunday worship.
3 to 2.
3 hours to 2, and then what? And what was kind of the emphasis? Where is it going to be focused? Worship,
Home-centered.
Home-centered. And what happened then? So they're working on this probably in 2016, it looks like, if not earlier, right, Ryan?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens here in 2020?
COVID-19.
And you cannot gather in a church. So had we not had these materials prepared and in advance, how would people be worshiping, do you think? Would it be uniform, or would it be somewhat disorganized?
Disorganized.
Yeah. In this verse 18, I like this. Thus God has provided a means that man, through faith, might work many mighty miracles. Might work mighty miracles. Therefore, he becometh a great benefit to his fellow beings. So no man, even if they're a seer, is greater than another man. But what they are is they can serve other people. They're in a position. They have talents, they have skills, they have abilities, they might have wealth. And that allows them to serve other people. Not to put themselves above someone else, but to serve. And so that's the value, right? You and I, we have the gospel, we have faith. We know that Christ lives. And because of that, it doesn't make us better than someone that's a non-believer, but allows us the opportunity to share that word with others, to share that belief. And then in verse 19, why don't you read verse 19 and 20? I think those are nice little kind of reactions. So after Ammon said these things about a seer and gave a little bit of his, I guess I'd call it his belief, his words, right? Then this is how the king responds. Read 19 and 20.
And now when Ammon had made an end of speaking these words, the king rejoiced exceedingly and gave thanks to God, saying, Doubtless a great mystery is contained within these plates, and these interpreters were doubtless prepared for the purpose of unfolding all such mysteries to the children of men. And how marvelous are the works of the Lord! And how long doth he suffer with his people? Yea, and how blind and impenetrable for the understandings of the children of men. For they will not seek wisdom, neither do they desire that she should rule over them.
Mm-hmm. She meaning who?
The Lord?
Mm-mm. Wisdom. Right?
Oh.
For they will not seek wisdom, neither desire that she should rule over them. She meaning wisdom, right? So sometimes words have a gender. Remember in Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
la and el, right?
Yeah.
Un and a. So it's in Tagalog it's and So different languages have kind of like a gender for words.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to read this last quote. This is by President Packer, who was an apostle. The scriptures speak of prophets as watchmen upon the tower, who see the enemy while he is yet afar, and who also behold, and who have beheld also things which were not visible to the natural eye. For a seer hath the Lord raised up unto his people. And then let's have you read, Ryan. It starts here at many years ago, the brethren. So read that. It's pretty powerful.
Many years ago, the brethren warned us of the disintegration of the family and told us to prepare. The weekly family was introduced by the first presidency. Parents are provided with excellent materials for teaching their children with the promise that the faithful will be blessed. While the doctrine and revealed organization remains unchanged, all agency of the church have been reshaped in their relationship to one another and to the home. The entire curriculum of the church was overhauled based on scriptures, and years were spent preparing new editions of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price.
Keep going. Does it keep thinking so good?
Yeah. We can only imagine where we would be if we had not been reacting to this terrible redefinition of the family. But that is not the case. We are not casting fanatically about trying to decide what to do. We know what to do and what to teach. The course we follow is not of our own making. The plan of salvation, the plan of happiness, was revealed to us, and the prophets and the apostles continue to receive revelation as the church and its members stand in need of more.
So one of the struggles that people will have, right, is they'll say, well, then if they could see the past, and they can foresee what's to come, why don't they warn people so they don't live in pain? I don't think it works that way. Now, they might have known, right? They might have felt that there was going to be some kind of global effect. Maybe a pandemic, maybe they knew that something like this could happen. But their job is not in the secular, it's in the spiritual. So we're here to save souls. And so this can be a struggle for some people where they say, oh, they should have known, they should have done this. When in reality, that's not the place of what a prophet does. A prophet draws us closer to who?
Christ.
And to his plan of salvation, his plan of happiness. And so they're a voice of warning. They might see what's to come. Maybe they know the actual events, but they might not know the actual events. They just get the prompting that the church needs to move a certain way. So when they tell us to be able to make sure that we have food storage, what should we do? Get food storage. When they tell us that we should repent daily, what should we be doing?
Repent daily.
Yeah. Our lives are better lived when we listen to the prophet of the Lord, for he speaks the word of Christ. The scriptures in their beauty are words that people had written, many prophets, many good leaders of the church at the time, and their words have been preserved for us. And never before has man had so much scriptures, so many words of God written by wonderful people, preserved so that we might be able to know his will concerning us, and that we might know how to live our lives in a way that's meaningful and impactful to not only to others, but most importantly to God. And for me, as I read the scriptures, as I listen to the words of the prophet, I know that they're the words of God. I know that they might have been written by a man or a woman, but I know they're meant for us in our time of need, and that not were you able to write down some thoughts or things that you want to learn more in for general conference tomorrow? Okay, we'll do that tonight. I think when we, I've never done it before, but that's kind of the prompting that I have is, I think if we go into general conference tomorrow and Sunday, thinking, reflecting upon what God can teach us, I think we'll gain more. That doesn't mean every single talk will address our question or address what we're wanting to know more about. But we'll be fed. But most importantly, we'll be fed by the Holy Ghost. It'll testify of truth. And I know that this church, it's not of brick and mortar. It's not of buildings and temples. It's a kingdom. It's our faith. It's our decision that we said, Christ, I will follow you. And that daily we continue to do that. We exercise our faith. We make covenants with the Lord. We draw close to him. And as we draw close to him, it doesn't have to be in a building. It doesn't have to be in a temple. It can be exactly where we are. And that's the power of the kingdom of God, is that it exists within us, Ryan. And I know that the kingdom of God right now is being led by a prophet that God has chosen to lead us. He's not a better man than anyone, but he is our chosen prophet, and he will help the kingdom of God continue to flourish and continue to help people. And I say this in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.